So, ladies and gentlemen, in plain words, I will be voting for. Welcome to the Be Wise podcast. I'm your host, Chris Wright, where we talk entertainment, politics, sports, and social media. Today, we're going to focus on politics. Today is November 1st. Election day is Tuesday, November 5th. So I thought it would be a good time for those of you who care. If you don't care, you scroll to another video. But today is the day I'm going to announce who I will be voting for in this year's presidential election. And why am I making it an announcement? I'm making it an announcement because I think that I went through a very good process on how I was going to decide. I voted Democrat since 2000. And that was the George W. Bush, Al Gore campaign. And then he ran up against Kerry in 2004. Both of those he won with a very slim margin. 2008 was historical. And he went up against Barack Obama. I voted for Barack Obama for obvious reasons. One, historical. And two, I just generally liked the guy. I thought he was a very good candidate, decent guy. Did he piss a lot of people off in America? 100%. Was he for everybody? No, he was not. But he was for me. He was for me. Didn't agree with all his policies. Didn't agree with a lot of decisions he made. I definitely didn't agree with the climate in America as far as race relations. But my thought is Barack Obama was stuck between a rock and a hard place. He was America's first president of color. We'll call him a first Black president for all intents and purposes. And for that, it meant for a lot of Black people that he was going to do something to change the United States for Black people. But that's virtually impossible, as we have learned. There is no Black agenda. And for Black people who think there is, they're definitely in for a surprise. I don't care who's in office. There was really no Black agenda. There's only an agenda for America. And we as Black people have to figure out how to navigate those to our benefit. The moment you put the word Black on any agenda, I know that you're trying to dupe me. I know that you're manipulating me. You're manipulating my emotions. You're manipulating my heart and my mind. So don't put Black on agendas. I think we are all better served as Americans by really, really good policies that serve us all, and really, really good policies and decision-making that makes us a better country. And listen, we're not going to be perfect, but to perform the more perfect union as we can come to. So all that said, what I needed to do was, as opposed to just voting for a party, Democrat, Republican, in between, I changed my official affiliation to independent. That way I went into a booth or I went into a poll not feeling that I needed to pull a certain lever or fill in a certain dot, so I wasn't letting down the team, if that makes sense. So then I've met a lot of people over the last few months who said, I'm not voting. I don't like Kamala and I don't like Trump. And to go into the poll and just pick one would be a waste of my time. And I agree. But I made a recommendation to those people and I said, write down a list, make a list. And on that list, write down 10 to 15 things that are important to you and your family. And then write Trump or Kamala next to each of those items. And then once you're done, you will determine that's who I'm going to vote for. If you write down 15 things and 10 of them says Kamala and 5 says Trump, you should vote for Kamala. Or vice versa. If 7 says, Trump and 6 says Kamala, then you should vote for that person. But you can't look at it as things that are important to the country because that's too broad for you. If you're a politico like me, someone who follows politics, someone who follows the news, someone who listens to political talk radio all day, all night, someone who watches tons of YouTube videos, won't miss a debate, won't miss an interview by a candidate, then I may have a more broad scale of who I'm going to vote for and why. But you may not care about geopolitical affairs. You may not care about foreign policy. You may not care about fracking or, being energy dependent because they don't affect your family. That doesn't affect your family on a day to day. But for me, some things may have a broader scale. Did you go to the Trump website and look at Agenda 47? Did you go to Kamala Harris' website and read her agenda and how those agendas may affect you? Because that's what they're running on. Those are promises that they need to keep. And when you see Donald Trump promises kept, that means he looked at that agenda and he went step by step on how he tried to keep the promises. So for me, when I decided that I needed to know which candidate I was going to endorse by November 1st, so I can go into the polls and make a sound decision. I've already even told my wife and kids, I know I'm not 100% decided yet. But a lot of things have happened, as most presidential election years do. A lot of things happen that makes you lean one way or another, makes you sway. I'll tell you right now, I don't vote for social issues because I think they're emotional. I've done that in the past. And I don't vote identity. Did that for Obama, only because it was historical. See, once you've had the first Black president, there's no sense of voting for the second or the third or the fourth. Now you're just doing the whole race thing. But the first Black president is historical. The first woman president is historical. The first gay president is historical. Those might be moments where you might look at identity and go, yeah, if I'm in the LGBT community, I know that they are going to support that candidate, just like they did for Pete Buttigieg when he ran, what was that, 2012 or 2016? I'm sorry. I can't remember the year. I might be wrong. But you get my point. Sometimes when identity is historical, you might feel a way to lean towards that way. But in this case, we've already had our first president with melanin in his skin, and we called him the first Black president. If we really had a president of my complexion who has a Black mother and a Black father, to me, that would be historical. But I digress because I don't want to focus on race and I don't want this to become a race show. So, all that said, what I did was I made my own list, and I'll tell you what the list is, and then I'll tell you who I put next to the words and why I selected them a little bit. If I told you everything that I put my thought into, this would be a 2-hour long pod. But we're just going to stick with a few things. So we'll do that list, but I want you to do your own because I think I'm putting this video out in enough time where you have today, you have the whole weekend to write your list and write a name next to it. And if you need to surf the web and figure out if you're picking the right person for that subject, then by all means do that. So before I tell you my list, there's a few other things that made a difference to me. Appearances, media appearances. So I saw the debate and I thought that it was an unfair debate. I thought it was Kamala Harris and ABC versus Donald Trump. I really did feel that way. I really did. Trump debates differently than your average politician. He weaves in and out of answers sometimes, and they tend to cut him off. But he's getting to a point. He's not debate trained. A lot of politicians are debate trained since law school. Trump's not a lawyer. Almost every president that we've had in office has been to law school, almost. So they're good at debating. They're good at fighting in courtrooms. They're good at making their point. The average Joe is not really good at getting to their point. They're talking like I'm talking on this podcast. I'm weaving in and out of subject matter, but I'm going to get to my point. And that's the way Donald Trump talks. And I think in debate situations, the debate moderators don't allow for that. He'll talk for his minute and they'll go, "Thank you, Mr. President," and they want to move on. And he's not allowed to speak. He's also from the kitchen table. And what do I mean by the kitchen table? The kitchen table is where you fight with family, you fight with friends, or friendly discourse. And Donald Trump's from that world where you argue with a person in a room, you debate friendly with smiles, with laughter, call him a bonehead, this, that, and the other, but it's not professional discourse or debate. Whereas all the attorneys, the Bill Clintons, the Kamala Harrises, the Barack Obamas who've been to law school, they just know how to conduct themselves in a debate and at a podium. But I don't think we should give points against Donald Trump for doing that. Let him speak and express himself the way he does and see if we can get something out of that. So let's talk about appearances. So if I was to say who won the debate, I would say that Kamala Harris won the debate because she debated by the rules. And did we have some gaffes? Yeah, we had they're eating their dogs, they're eating their cats, which is something that can happen in a debate. Whether it was factual or not factual, if a large group of people don't agree with that or don't believe you, then you probably should leave that out of your debate. Donald Trump talks off the cuff. And he came away from that debate not getting his point across, ABC pushing back against him, ABC fact-checking him, not fact-checking Kamala Harris, and also they're eating their dogs, they're eating their cats. All right? I'm a little horsey, forgive me. So she won a debate. 60 Minutes, I thought that Kamala Harris did not do good in her 60 Minutes campaign. Here's why. It was too short. It was heavily edited. The host, Bill Whitaker, didn't press her on certain things because he probably didn't have time. If I'm 60 Minutes, that president is getting 60 minutes. That candidate is getting 60 minutes, not 20 minutes of a 1 hour show, not 30 minutes of a 1 hour show. I'm getting my 60 minutes, and all of them are going to be dedicated to that candidate. Why is it what hungry children in Guatemala can't be more important than what's talked about in America right now at this moment? So why couldn't you dedicate that 60 minutes to that candidate? I don't know. All right. So I thought she did very poorly. I thought 60 Minutes did poorly in the interview, and we did not learn anything about Kamala Harris, nor did we learn about her agenda. Appearance number 2, Kamala Harris on Fox News with Bret Baier. She graded very poorly on that. And here's why. Fox News and Bret Baier asked the Kamala Harris team for 1 hour. And they said, okay, we'll give you 1 hour. And of course, when you give a news station or an interviewer 1 hour, they start to prepare for 1 hour of questioning. They creep everything that they can fit into an hour. They know how much time they're going to give you to answer, and they plan it all out. You call them the day before and say, hey, I know we promised you an hour, but now we can only give you 30 minutes. Hey, she's only given us 30 minutes, so now we got to rejuggle the questions. We got to ask the most important questions. To cut an interview from 1 hour to 30 minutes It's pretty intense. I've done it before when I've interviewed people. I tell them how much time it's going to take, a tight hour, and then we go from there. So when you cut that down to 30 minutes, I'm going to probably take out half the questions. I also need time to introduce you, tell people who you are, maybe give them a little background, some bio, etc. So now I got literally like 25 minutes of questioning because that hour was cut down to 30 minutes and I got to cut my questioning down to 25. That day of the interview, Kamala Harris' team called Fox News and said, "We're running late." How late? It's going to be about 10 to 15 minutes late. All right. Well, we have programming on this show. We got a lot to do. After you're setting our whole schedule back, I was hoping you would be early. Yeah, sorry. I'm going to be late. Anyway, there's also some technical stuff that's involved called live to tape. That means they tape it live and they'll show it later. And the tape that you see is actually the live viewing with no edits, no cuts. And if she didn't arrive in a certain amount of time, they wouldn't even be able to do that, a live to tape. Because Fox News was trying to say, we don't want to cut this. We don't want to edit this. We want to give it to you exactly as it happened. So they were dealing with time. They were dealing with live to tape. And the whole Kamala team messed all that up. You did get your live to tape, but you got a much shorter interview than you should have. So Kamala loses a point for that interview. It was totally botched. And I think it was done intentionally. Kamala Harris on The Breakfast Club. A lot of pandering went on. She basically, I guess, dumbed it down. She was acting Black, Ebonic wise, urban, I should say, not to insult anyone. She was doing her thing. She was putting her on her blackface for The Breakfast Club. It wasn't a good look. She had the thing where she said, man, I'm from Jamaica, I smoke weed and all that kind of stuff. Her father did not like that appearance. So she lost a point to me for that, for not just being on there and being a candidate and being a lawyer and speaking eloquently and intelligently. Didn't like it. She was on The Breakfast Club again, and this time it was audio only. They had to put a picture of her up on the screen while they talked to her over voice only. I guess her schedule was too busy. And that's okay. I know presidential candidates have busy schedules. So I allow her that. And then Oprah was a total debacle. The Oprah show. And there was a lot of word salad, a lot of not answering questions. Oprah was dumbfounded. That's where she made the remark about, if you come into my house, you're getting shot, that whole thing. So the Oprah appearance was not memorable, to say the least. So those are the shows, those are the appearances that I remember. And none of them were, oh, did I forget one? No, that's it. Okay. Those are the appearances I wanted to talk about. 60 Minutes, The Debate, Bret Baier, Oprah, The Breakfast Club. Now I'll go to the Donald Trump appearances. The Debate, which I said he lost. He was on the Dave Ramsey show. Dave Ramsey is an economics guy, personal savings, family savings guy. Did very well talking about the economies, job creation, small business regulations, things like that, taxes, tax cuts, the whole nine. And I thought it was very good. He was on the Andrew Schultz podcast for 90 minutes. Kudos to that. He did not cut it short. Donald Trump was also on Joe Rogan, a 3-hour podcast, did not cut it short. He gave the public his time. And there was another podcast that he was on. Oh, I can't remember. But anyway, it was he's a TikToker, YouTube guy. I forgot his name, but once again, very laid back. What I like about those type of podcasts is that you get to know the person. You get to know the individual. And it's not just politics and it's not just about agenda, but you really get to know about family and ideas and who they are, and letting Joe Rogan ask him whatever he wants. It was just, those are really, really impressive appearances. Every time I saw Kamala Harris on any appearance, it seemed structured, staged, fixed. I'm going to go on this show and I'm going to talk like this. I'm going to go on this show and I'm going to talk like this. Donald Trump was the same Donald Trump in every appearance. Every appearance. So those are the things that I weighed very heavily. How did you present yourself when you had an opportunity to show the public who you are? Right. Now, let's get to my list. These things are important to me. So let me, everything I've seen, I've watched Kamala rallies. I've watched Donald Trump rallies. Actually, we've been watching Donald Trump rallies for the last 10 years. So we know what those are about. But I have watched them. One thing I can tell you about a 2023, 2024 Trump rally versus a 2015, 2016 Trump rally is now he's more calm, he's more reserved, he's more confident. He's done the job before. He wasn't as bombastic, didn't have to be as rambunctious. Did he still name call? Did he still probably say some things that people were uncomfortable with, make you, some cringeworthy things? Yes. But he knew what he was doing. All right. He knew I had to be my authentic self, and I had to say those things because those are the things that pump my crowd up. Just like a musician, they know what things are going to get the crowd going. Woo! Right? Comedians, everybody. But a 2024 Donald Trump is much more reserved and much more professional, in my opinion, and says all the right things at all the right times. Very, very impressive. So here's my list. These are the things that I am concerned about going forward as an adult, as a family man, as a husband, as a father, as a businessman, and an entrepreneur. The economy, inflation, consumer pricing, taxes, deregulating small businesses, First Amendment and free speech, very important. Foreign policy and geopolitical strategy, our involvement around the world in wars and military, LGBTQ rights, women's right to choose, Black economics, real estate market, because I am a realtor, border control and immigration, U.S. manufacturing, law enforcement, veterans benefits and ending homelessness for vets, because I'm a veteran, rebuilding a strong military, healthcare coverage, and what's your agenda and where can I find it? So those are the things that are important to me when I go into the voting booth. I'll do Kamala Harris first. Healthcare. I think ever since Obamacare went into effect, it has to be, and there is nothing more important than for the Democrats, to me, no bigger agenda than Barack Obama's landmark agenda, policy, and law on healthcare. Any Democrat that comes in and screws that up will never win. So I think that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris has had to continue to wave that banner. So I think when it comes to healthcare coverage for our families, that Kamala Harris has no other choice but to continue to fly that flag. So if I cared about healthcare, which I do, that would be a strong vote for Harris Waltz. Put it on the board. Next, Kamala Harris. Women's right to choose and women's rights in general, and the upliftment and empowerment of women. I'm going to go Kamala Harris on that one. Her being a woman, her being the first woman that could possibly be president, has to be extremely, extremely high on her priorities. Otherwise, she won't win a second term. If she fumbles women in her first term, she won't be invited back. The whole women's right to choose argument debate becomes an abortion issue. I think that the Democrats support that a right to choose agenda, what women can do with their bodies. That point goes to Kamala Harris. LGBTQ rights, Kamala Harris. I really think that every person that I've talked to, my friends, my inner circle that are gay or cares about gay rights, will probably vote for Kamala Harris. And she's talked about it more as opposed to just saying, hey, Trump for LGBTQ. No, Kamala Harris have actually talked about it on her campaigns, in her appearances, her sit downs. And I think that's something that's very important to her, even down to surgeries and things like that. That's all I'll say about that. I'm not into all of the agendas of the LGBTQ community, but I get it. I have friends that are gay. I don't have any trans friends, but I do have gay friends, and I want the best for them. So I think that would be a vote for Kamala to help gay people out. All right. For me, that's all she wins. That's all she wins. Healthcare, women's rights, and LGBTQ. So let me tell you what the other issues are for me. The economy, inflation, consumer pricing, huge. I buy groceries, we buy cars, we spend money every day. Every single day I leave the house, I'm spending $20. My wife has, for the last few years, has been talking about grocery prices going up and up and up. And they're going up for all types of reasons. US manufacturing, farmers, agriculture, so many things, business regulations, how much it costs to run a business, restaurants, wages, all that stuff goes into economy, inflation, and consumer prices. I'm going to give that to Donald Trump. Next thing, taxes. Taxes. I want tax cuts. The middle class is being pillaged, raped, beaten to death, assaulted by taxes, much as 30, 35%. I want tax cuts. I think Donald Trump is serious about tax cuts. Trump. Deregulating small businesses. What does that mean? Taking out all the minutia, throwing away things that you need to do to run a business. I'm an entrepreneur myself. I'm a real estate agent. I'm own a brokerage. If I'm going to do anything, I'm a DJ, run a DJ business. Anything that has to do with running a small business, whether it's a mom and pop shop, a restaurant, a food truck, you want deregulation. You want as many bullet points and T's to cross and I's to dot as possible in order to open that business. Someone trying to open a food truck, for God's sake, has to go through all of these things just to try and make it on his own. A cleaning business, anything like that, you got to jump through hoops. I think deregulating a small business is Trump because he's a businessman. So he wants to make it as easy as possible for you to open a business. Next, First Amendment and free speech. Well, we all know that's Donald Trump. I think we have become an overly woke society. I think we have become a society where we become offended by so much. We are so sensitive I think even comedians have said, "Man, I can't do this anymore," and they've gone and do a podcast. Because every time they go on stage, it was like, "You offended this person, or you offended that person." Things we see in the news. Everybody is upset about something, whether it's blacks, whether it's women, whether it's gays, whether it's white, black, Hispanic. Everybody is upset. Things you can't say in the newspaper, things you can't say on the radio, people getting canceled, people getting fired from jobs, things you can't say on social media. Free speech and social the First Amendment, Donald Trump. I've been a victim of it. That's why I'm so passionate about the First Amendment. I've been a victim of it. I've lost business. I've lost friends. I've lost people who no longer want to associate with me because they're just so weirded out because of the things I say. I worked at a job once where I would do a podcast and they were like, "You need to take that down." That's crazy. And it's actually bullshit. People were uncomfortable with my opinion. Well, what about the people we hire and the people that we are around? You know what? Whatever. I get so upset about free speech in the First Amendment because we say it, but we don't really believe it. We don't want it. We don't want it. We want communism when it comes to speech. We want to be censored and filtered. That's what America has told me over the last 20 years. And it's gotten really bad. Trump. Foreign policy and geopolitical strategy. I heard a story one time. I heard a couple of stories where Trump goes to talk to world leaders. Doesn't matter if they're enemies or whether they're friends or whatever. He will sit down and have a conversation with Netanyahu as fast as he'll go have a conversation with Putin. He sits down and talks to world leaders. He'll sit before the Taliban and go, "You touch one hair on an American's head and you'll be destroyed." The Dems won't do that. They don't want to talk to world leaders. They want to hide in the Pentagon and strategically plan. And this, with the way Trump was when it comes to geopolitical and foreign affairs, we had no wars. Even though he told foreign leaders, "Do this and I'll kill you." All right? "Do this and it's going to be a problem." Had foreign leaders come to our White House. And we thought, "Oh my God, look who's in the White House. I can't believe he invited them to the White House." Foreign policy and geopolitical strategy, Trump. War involvement. Well, where are our troops now and where were our troops during the Trump presidency rather? He wants to stay out of wars. He doesn't want to spend money on wars. Do we want a strong military? 100%. But we don't want to be involved in wars. We don't, and we also don't want to be sending billions of dollars to foreign countries to support their war, buying them bullets, killing children, innocent mothers, victims, billions of dollars. So war involvement, Trump. So this one's going to surprise you. Black economics. So some people think because Kamala Harris actually has a Black agenda and a Hispanic agenda for Black men, for Hispanic men, that it means something. No, I find that I have thrived on strong economic programs for America has also benefited my economics. My savings grew, my ability to purchase things like a home, like a car, like groceries. Those things were amplified by the policies that were already in place. I didn't need an agenda just for me and my race. A lot of people aren't going to like that. I'm sorry. But no, we don't need a Black agenda. What we need is good, strong economic policies that Black politicians sign on to. They're in the room when it happens and they say, "Yeah, Mr. President, that will work. No, that's not good for the community." And we create something that's strong and powerful with inclusivity so that everyone agrees on it. senators, congressmen, constituents, everybody are involved and come out and say, here's our new economic plan for 2025. I don't need a black agenda. I don't want a black agenda. Trump. The real estate market. Man. From 2020 to 2024, which has been the whole Biden Harris presidency, the real estate industry, which I work in, has been rough because we have low inventory, high interest rates, people killing each other for houses, people overpaying, no housing being built, no new structures. Yes, some of that was caused by the pandemic. But what did we do when Biden and Harris got in office? They exacerbated the pandemic. They made it worse. So there was no programs or there was nothing in place to encourage or push new home ownership, lower interest rates, building of new homes, affordable homes for the middle class. That didn't happen. Right now, Kamala Harris is saying in her campaign, we're going to spend $400 million to make whatever the number was. We're going to spend a large chunk of taxpayer money so now that we can build homes for the middle class. It's, you know what? It's late. Now the housing shortage is just about clearing up. So real estate market, Trump. Border control and immigration. Statistics will show that during the Biden-Harris administration, more illegal immigrants have come across the border. I don't need to talk a lot about that, and I'm going to keep it very short. When it comes to border control and immigration, Donald Trump is very strong on it. No matter how mean you think he is, no matter how mean you think his tweets are, he's talking about getting people out, getting criminals out, making arrests, putting ICE to work. We hired a ton of IRS agents when Biden came in the office, and IRS agents I'm scared of. They are the boogeyman. I don't want them in my life. And you turn around and you take that money and you put it to ICE. I want ICE in my life. Okay. I want border control. I want strong immigration policies. I want people to come into the country legally. I love immigration. I love that we're a melting pot. I want people from different ethnic backgrounds and different countries to come into America. I don't want a white only or 80% white America and a 20% black America. I want people to come from, Russia and China and Japan and, the South America. I want them all here. A melting pot makes America great. They just got to come in legally. They got to do it right. And they got to contribute to the economy and contribute to our education. Border control and immigration, Trump. U.S. manufacturing. I've been saying this for years. We don't make jack in America anymore. And when we do make things in America, it's too expensive. I want to go get a Ford F-150, but I don't want to pay $60,000, $70,000 for it. I want a Chevy Silverado souped up, built in America, not Mexico. I want to put Americans to work, but I don't want to pay $70,000 for a truck. I haven't had a new car in 30 years. Everything I buy is pre-owned. Part of that is my philosophy, strategy, but still, I don't want to pay full price for American products. Pair of denim jeans, you should be able to get jeans for $9. Why we got to pay $50 for jeans that are manufactured in America? Levi, Wrangler, the good stuff, the kind cowboys used to wear. I can literally go in a TikTok shop and get a pair of jeans from China for $22. But if I go in Old Navy or if I go in the Gap, I got to pay $60 for a pair of jeans. It's just U.S. manufacturing. We need to open factories here. The Elon Musk, the Jeff Bezos, the Mark Zuckerberg, the people that matter, even Mark Cuban. Let's use our billions of dollars to open up U.S. manufacturing, be able to pay our workers, and still get good prices. Agriculture, all that. U.S. manufacturing, Trump says he's going to fix that. I believe him. Law enforcement. We have got to get a grip on law enforcement. Places like California, where people say you are actually allowed to shoplift up to a certain amount, you can't arrest them, you can't touch what do you call the suspects. No, we need to support strong law enforcement. So people are taking the whole idea of Trump saying, "Oh, he wants cops to have full immunity." Well, police officers need to be able to do their job. They need to be able to do their job. I want to feel safe in my house. I'm very respectful to law enforcement. We need law. And by the way, because cops go out every day and can find themselves in court because of an action they've taken, there's always going to be bad seeds. There's always going to be bad cops. Hell, there's bad cashiers. There's bad nurses, bad doctors, bad attorneys, bad real estate agents. So, yes, there are bad cops, and those cops should get their just due. Okay. But if there's, I forgot the number, but if there's, 40,000 stops a day in America by police officers, and one person happens to get brutally beat or shot for God forbid, that does not mean that you take all cops, put them in a bucket, and says defund the police and let's get rid of law enforcement. That's stupid. And if I see one more snatch and grab on YouTube, if I see a bunch of kids going into the mall and just taking stuff, and I'm not allowed to shoot them or attack them or beat the crap out of them, listen, we're hog tying law enforcement, guys. We're not allowing them to do their job. Law enforcement, Trump. All right, the next one's a little bit more lighter. I went off on free speech and I went off on law enforcement. Veterans benefits and ending homelessness for vets. Not one veteran should be homeless in America unless he wants to. Offer that veteran housing and he doesn't take it, by all means, thank you for your service. But there are veterans on the street because they can't afford housing, they can't afford a home. Shame on us as a country. Shame on us as a country. Before they even release you from the military, they should say, do you have a place to go? Do you have a home when you leave us? And we need to make sure we take care of them before we even let them out. Because as long as you're in the military, you have a home, whether it's a ship, whether it's barracks, whether it's base housing, you always have a home. There's no reason you should get out and be homeless. And that should not say, I'm going home to live with my mom. Okay. We need to take care of that. So veterans benefits, I think, are very strong under a Republican administration, very strong under a Trump administration. By the way, and I use the VA for my primary health care. And kudos to the people where I live. It's very good. And the service is good and I'm well taken care of. I'm just getting old and I got a lot of problems, but I'm taken care of. All right. Next thing is building a strong military. Right now, I don't know what the numbers are, but I think that our military is very weak right now. And I don't know that for a fact. But it seems weak to me. And the people that know says that it's weak. So we need to rebuild a strong military. We need to be more prepared. I think first of all, just like the police departments, we can't even get people to join the police department now. We can't get young people to join the military, not like we should. People are joining the military by necessity now for economics, and they're not joining it out of country American pride like they used to. During both during Desert Storm and the Iran War, people that had left the military service and had been out 10, 15 years were asking, could they go back in? I think 36 is it used to be 36. If you got out, as long as you weren't 36 before coming back in, you could go back in. So if you went in at 18, you got out at 24. If you wanted to come back in 5 or 6 years later because things just weren't working out, you could come back in as long as you were under 36. I think they have actually raised that age because so many people are not going in the military. If I'm wrong, put it in the comments, but I think that's a fact that they actually raised the age because so many people weren't joining the military. Next, healthcare coverage. I already talked about that, Kamala, and I think, I wanted to talk about agendas, plans, and websites. So your homework is to go on the Donald Trump for President website. I forgot what it's called. I think it's makeamericagreatagain.com. Something like, anyway, find it. And then Agenda 47 is very clearly very clearly written out. This is each agenda, each bullet point, very easy to read, and you will know what Agenda 47 is. Project 2025 is not on the Donald Trump website, nor does he even care about it. So if you're confused about Project 2025, it has nothing to do with Donald Trump or his campaign. I also want you to go to the Kamala Harris website for president and see if you can find the agenda. You can, but it's it actually gets a button that says, would you like to download the PDF? Words are very small. I couldn't view it on my phone. I was like, where is the agenda? What's going on? It's as convoluted as her appearances. I swear, before I made this podcast, I looked up everything and I was like, where's her plan? It's in there. It's on the website. But there's a agenda for Black men. There's an agenda for Hispanic men. I didn't see an agenda for white men. You must be under the impression that you don't need one. Or, oh no, that's in the America section. So our American agenda is for the white men, but we also have an agenda for Latinos and an agenda for Black men. Make it make sense. I don't know. Anyway, and then they have all these other agendas, but she has all these different like tabs at the bottom you can click and you can download the PDF, and it's very, 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 very wordy. Nope. On Trump's website, Agenda 47, it's black and bold, the subject, and only like 4 or 5 sentences to explain what the agenda is. It's beautiful. It's written for a 3rd grader. Seriously. There's going to be jokes out there when I say that. Oh, that's because Trump voters, whatever. It's written so the average person who's not into politics, who don't watch the news, who don't listen to podcasts, can very easily go, what is Trump's agenda? And boom, bam, 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 knock them all out. You don't have to download a PDF. You don't have to be pinching your phone and going, what the hell? You don't have to go on your computer and try and figure it all out. It's just there. So, ladies and gentlemen, in plain words, I will be voting for and endorsing Donald Trump on Tuesday in the next election. I said it. But at least you know why. That doesn't make me MAGA. I don't wear political apparel, so you'll never see me in a red hat. You'll never see me in a t-shirt or holding a sign. I gave you the reasons, and you may disagree with some of those reasons because you may take my whole list and scrap it and throw away all of it and go, but what about women's right to choose? No, I'm looking at my phone. I have a very detailed reason for why I'm voting for Donald Trump. I didn't do it in a vacuum. This has been months and years of deciding. And guess what? I mean, even if I was to make it simple and plain, I just happen to like him more. Put him and Kamala side by side. Oh, I will have you know what I didn't say to you is in 2019, when Kamala did run for president, I supported her. I sent money to her campaign and everything. It was an identity thing. I thought she was cool. I like the way she talks. But then over the years, it's just been you 3.5 years to prove that you should be taking Biden's seat. Because Biden said when he ran for president, I'm only doing one term. I have no plan to do a second term. And I was like, well, that means Kamala may be the next president. She did nothing to show. I think she just thought she was going to get the seat by default. But and the more she showed of herself, the less I liked her. I was like, my wife actually used to say, I don't like her. I don't like her. And I used to go, oh, I like her. I like her. Over the last 3.5 years, now my wife going, I might vote for her. And I'm going, nah, that ain't it. So I hope all this made sense. And I will talk to you later. As I end each Be Wise podcast, peace.